The woman's hands shook as she stared at the black leather wallet on the break room table. Inside were more $100 bills than she'd ever seen in her life. Enough to pay off her student loans. Enough to stop the eviction notice taped to her apartment door. But something about the man who'd left it behind made her skin crawl. His eyes had been cold. Dead. The kind of eyes that had seen things normal people never see. And now his wallet sat in front of her like a test she hadn't asked to take. She could keep it. God knows she needed it. Or she could make the call that would change everything. Tell us where you are watching from and what time it is right now. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. Her name was Maya Chen, 23 years old. Third-year nursing student at the State University. Part-time waitress at Rossi's, an upscale Italian restaurant downtown where the tips were good and the customers were mostly harmless. Mostly. Maya had been wiping down tables during the late shift when she found it. Table 7. The corner booth where the man had sat alone for 2 hours, nursing a single glass of whiskey and watching the door like he expected trouble to walk through it any second. He'd been different. Not just his expensive suit or the way he'd barely touched his food. It was the atmosphere around him. The other waitstaff had avoided his section. Even Marco, the manager who never backed down from anyone, had given the man extra space. Maya had been assigned to his table by default. She'd approached with her best customer service smile, notepad ready. "What can I get you tonight?" He'd looked up slowly. His face was handsome in a brutal kind of way. Sharp jawline, dark hair swept back, eyes the color of smoke. Maybe 35, maybe 40. Hard to tell with men like him, men whose faces had been carved by experiences that aged them in ways that didn't show in wrinkles. Whiskey, neat, and the osso buco. His voice had been quiet, controlled, but underneath it, Maya had heard something that made her step back instinctively. Authority, the kind that didn't ask, the kind that expected obedience. She'd brought his order. He'd barely acknowledged her. When she'd checked on him 20 minutes later, the food was untouched. The whiskey was gone. "Everything okay with your meal?" "Fine." He hadn't looked at her when he said it. An hour later, he'd left. Cash on the table. Exactly enough for the bill plus a 20% tip. No more, no less. Precise. Maya had cleared the table and found the wallet wedged between the seat cushion and the booth wall. Now she stood in the break room, alone with her decision. The wallet was heavy, real leather, expensive. Inside were the bills. She'd counted them 3 times, unable to believe the number. $15,000. Just sitting there, like it was nothing to him. Also inside, a black credit card with no name, a business card with only a phone number printed in silver ink, and a driver's license that made her stomach drop. Dominic Moretti. She didn't recognize the name, but something about it felt dangerous, like a warning label she should have read before opening the box. Maya's phone buzzed. Rent reminder. Due in 3 days. She had $214 in her checking account. Her next tuition payment was coming up. She'd already maxed out her student loans. She was drowning. This money could save her. But Maya's mother had raised her better than this. Had worked 3 jobs to give Maya a chance at a better life. Had taught her that integrity wasn't about what you did when people were watching. It was about what you did when no one would ever know. Maya picked up her phone. Her hand steadied as she dialed the number from the business card. It rang once, twice. Then a voice answered. The same quiet, controlled voice from earlier. Yes. Not a question. A statement. Like he'd been waiting for this exact call. "Mr. Moretti?" Maya's voice came out smaller than she'd intended. "This is Maya. I was your waitress tonight at Rossi's. You left your wallet." Silence on the other end. Long enough that Maya wondered if he'd hung up. Then, "Did you look inside?" The question landed like a trap. Maya swallowed. Yes, I wanted to make sure it was yours. Your license. How much was in it? Maya's throat went dry. $15,000. Another pause. When he spoke again, something had shifted in his tone. Not warmer, exactly, but interested. And you're calling to return it? It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. Yes. I'm at the restaurant until midnight. Or I can drop it off somewhere tomorrow if... I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. Something felt wrong. The way he'd asked about the money. The pause after she'd said she was returning it. Like she'd surprised him. Like this had been some kind of test. She shoved the wallet in her apron pocket and returned to the floor. The dinner rush was over. Only a handful of customers remained. Marco was counting the register. The other servers were doing side work. Maya wiped down tables she'd already cleaned twice. Checked her phone. 17 minutes since the call. The front door opened. Dominic Moretti walked in looking exactly like what he was, a man who didn't belong in a restaurant at 11:30 on a Tuesday night unless he owned it or was about to burn it down. He wore a different suit now. Still expensive. Still perfectly tailored. But there was something else with him this time. An energy. A presence that made the remaining customers glance up and then quickly look away, like they'd accidentally made eye contact with something predatory. Marco appeared from the back. Took one look at Moretti, went pale. Mr. Moretti, we weren't expecting, I'll get your usual table. I'm here for her. He pointed at Maya. Every head in the restaurant turned. Maya felt her heartbeat in her throat. She pulled the wallet from her apron pocket and crossed the floor on unsteady legs. Here. Everything's inside. I didn't take anything. Moretti accepted the wallet without looking at it. Instead, he studied her face like he was memorizing it, reading it, calculating something behind those smoke-colored eyes. What's your name? Maya Chen. You a student, Maya Chen? She nodded. Nursing school. Junior year. That why you work here? To pay for school? Yes. She didn't mention the eviction notice, the maxed out loans, the ramen dinners, and the thermostat set to 55 degrees all winter. Moretti opened the wallet, counted the bills without looking down, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. When he finished, he pulled out a single $100 bill and held it out. For your honesty. Maya stared at the money. $100 was more than she made in tips most nights. But something about accepting it felt wrong. Like it would change the nature of what she'd done. Turn it into a transaction instead of the right thing. I don't want a reward. I just wanted to return what was yours. For the first time, something that might have been a smile touched the corner of Moretti's mouth. It didn't reach his eyes. Interesting. He put the 100 back in the wallet. Then he pulled out a different card, white, with raised black lettering. He held it out. I'm going to make you an offer, Maya Chen. You don't have to answer now. In fact, I don't want you to. I want you to think about it. Really think. Maya took the card automatically. Before she could read it, Moretti continued. I know things about you. I know you're drowning in debt. I know your rent is 3 days late. I know you work 40 hours a week while carrying 18 credit hours. I know you're exhausted. And I know you're running out of options. Maya's blood went cold. How do you... I make it my business to know things. He cut her off smoothly. Here's my offer. I will pay for the rest of your nursing school. All of it. Tuition, books, living expenses. You'll never worry about money again. You'll graduate debt-free. It sounded like a dream, which meant it was a nightmare. What's the catch? Moretti's smile widened. Still cold, still predator-sharp. When you graduate, you work for me, off the books. You'll be my personal physician, available when I call. No questions asked. Complete silence about everything you see and hear. And when I need your services, you provide them, No matter what. The restaurant felt too quiet, like everyone had stopped breathing. You're asking me to be a mob doctor? Moretti didn't confirm or deny it. He just watched her with those calculating eyes. I'm asking you to make a choice. Stay in this life, struggling, drowning, barely surviving, or step into mine. Dangerous, yes, but you'll never want for anything. You'll have the career you've dreamed of, just with different clients. Maya's hand trembled around the card. This was insane. She should say no, should run, should call the police. But God help her, she was drowning, and he was offering her air. I told you not to answer now, Moretti said. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Maya, the wallet tonight? That wasn't an accident. I left it there on purpose, to see what kind of person you are. You passed my test. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the handle. Most people in this city are for sale. They just don't know their price yet. You could have kept that money and I never would have known. But you called. You were honest in a city built on lies. He looked back at her. That kind of integrity is rare, valuable, and in my line of work, absolutely essential. The door closed behind him. Maya looked down at the card in her shaking hand. A phone number, nothing else. Behind her, Marco was gripping the edge of the bar, white-knuckled. Jesus Christ, Maya. Do you know who that was? Do you have any idea what you just... But Maya wasn't listening. She was thinking about her mother, about the promises she'd made, about the person she'd always wanted to be versus the person she might have to become to survive. She was thinking about the weight of $15,000 and the much heavier weight of the choice she now had to make. And she was thinking about Dominic Moretti's eyes, cold and dead, and somehow, impossibly, approving. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. Not the rent reminder this time. An unknown number. You have 48 hours to decide. After that, the offer expires. Choose wisely, Maya Chen. Your future depends on it. Maya's legs gave out. She sat down hard in the nearest chair, the card clutched in her fist, and realized with absolute certainty that her life had just split into two paths. The safe one and the dangerous one. And the man with the smoke-colored eyes had already decided which one she would take. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat on her apartment floor, back against the radiator that hadn't worked in 3 months, staring at the white card with the black phone number. 48 hours. 2 days to decide if she'd sell her soul or drown trying to keep it. The eviction notice mocked her from the kitchen counter. By morning, she'd convinced herself to say no. By noon, she'd changed her mind twice. By the time her evening shift started at Rossi's, Maya felt like she was splitting in half. One version of herself screaming to run, the other whispering that drowning people don't get to be picky about life rafts. Marco avoided her all night. The other servers whispered. Everyone knew something had happened, but no one dared ask. Maya moved through her shift like a ghost, taking orders, delivering food, smiling at customers who left tips that wouldn't cover her electric bill. The normalcy of it felt surreal, like she was watching herself from underwater. Her phone buzzed during her break. Unknown number, 36 hours remaining. Just that, nothing else. A countdown clock on her entire future. Maya's hands shook as she deleted the message, then immediately regretted it. Like erasing it would erase the choice. Make it not real. But it was real. Dominic Moretti was real. And the $15,000 she'd returned, money that could have saved her, was very, very real. That night, Maya walked home through streets that suddenly looked different. Dangerous. She noticed things she'd never paid attention to before. The men in expensive cars parked outside cash-only restaurants. The buildings with no signs but plenty of security. The way certain businesses stayed open late with no visible customers. This was Moretti's world, the one he was offering to pull her into, the one that would swallow her whole. Back in her freezing apartment, Maya did something she hadn't done in years. She called her mother. "Maya, baby, it's almost midnight. What's wrong?" Just hearing her mother's voice made Maya's throat tighten. "I'm fine, Mom. I wanted to hear your voice." "You're crying. Don't tell me you're fine when you're crying." Maya wiped her face. She hadn't realized. "I'm just tired. School is hard. Work is hard. Everything is hard." Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then, "You remember what I used to tell you? When things got difficult? That the right thing is usually the hard thing." "That's right. And the hard thing is always worth it in the end, even when it doesn't feel like it." Her mother paused. "Whatever you're going through, baby, you'll get through it the right way. I know you will. I raised you better than to take shortcuts." Maya closed her eyes. What if the right way isn't possible anymore? What if the only choices left are bad ones? Then you pick the one you can live with, the one that lets you look at yourself in the mirror. Her mother's voice softened. "I didn't work myself to the bone so you could compromise who you are. I did it so you'd never have to. You understand?" "I understand." But understanding and doing were different things. After they hung up, Maya sat in the dark and thought about mirrors. About the person she saw in them now versus the person she might see after saying yes to Moretti. Would she even recognize herself? The next day brought answers she didn't want. Maya went to campus for her morning class, Advanced Pathophysiology. She loved this class. Loved learning how the body broke down and how to fix it. Loved the idea that she could save lives, make a difference. But when she checked her student account after class, the screen showed a message in bold red. Payment overdue. Enrollment suspended, pending payment. Deadline, 5 business days, 5 days. Then, everything she'd worked for would disappear. Maya walked to the financial aid office in a daze, stood in line for 40 minutes, finally reached the counselor's desk. "I need more time, or another loan, or..." The counselor looked at her with practiced sympathy. "Miss Chen, you've already maximized your federal loans, and you don't qualify for additional private loans without a cosigner. I'm sorry, but unless you can come up with $12,000 by Friday, you'll have to withdraw for the semester." $12,000. Almost the exact amount in Moretti's wallet. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Maya left campus and walked. Just walked. Through downtown. Past Rossi's. Past the nice neighborhoods where people didn't have to choose between eating and heating. Past the neighborhoods like hers, where everyone was one missed paycheck from disaster. She ended up at the public library, sat at a computer, typed Dominic Moretti into the search bar. The results were limited. A few mentions in business articles about real estate development. A photo from a charity gala where he stood in the background, face half turned from the camera. Nothing explicit, nothing criminal. But the absence of information was its own answer. Normal people had digital footprints, social media, reviews, court records, even if just traffic tickets. Moretti had none of that. He'd been erased. Or more likely, he'd never existed on paper to begin with. Men like that didn't make innocent offers. But men like that also didn't need to make offers at all. He could have let her keep the wallet, could have written off the loss. Instead, he'd tested her, chosen her specifically, for her honesty, her integrity, the very things he was now asking her to compromise. Maya checked her phone. The deadline reminder stared back at her. Due Friday. 4 days away. Less time than Moretti had given her to decide. The decision was making itself. That evening, Maya sat on her apartment floor again. Same spot, same card, different level of desperation. She picked up her phone, stared at the number she'd already memorized. Her mother's words echoed. Pick the one you can live with. But what if neither choice was livable? What if both paths led to different kinds of death? One slow and suffocating, one fast and bloody? Maya's finger hovered over the call button. She thought about medical school, about saving lives, about being the doctor her mother had always believed she could be. She thought about doing that from within Moretti's world instead of outside it, helping people, even if those people were criminals, even if the circumstances were dark. Wasn't that still worth something? Or was she just making excuses, justifying the unjustifiable? The phone rang before she could decide. Unknown number. Her heart stopped. She answered. Hello? Time's up, Maya Chen. Moretti's voice. Quiet. Final. I have 12 hours left. No, you have right now. I'm downstairs. You're either coming down to give me your answer, or I'm driving away, and you never hear from me again. Choose. The line went dead. Maya ran to her window, looked down at the street. A black SUV idled at the curb. Tinted windows. Engine running, waiting. Her entire future sat in that car. Maya grabbed her coat, didn't let herself think. Thinking was the enemy now. Thinking would paralyze her. She took the stairs 2 at a time, burst through the building's front door into the cold night air. The SUV's back door opened. Moretti sat inside, half in shadow. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just waited. Maya climbed in. The door closed behind her with a sound like a cell locking. I'll do it, she said. Her voice didn't shake. That surprised her. I'll take your deal. You pay for school. I work for you after. No questions asked. Moretti studied her face in the darkness. You're sure? No. But I'm out of options. And you knew that when you made the offer. She met his eyes. You chose me because I'm desperate enough to say yes, but honest enough to be trusted. That's the calculation, isn't it? Something like approval flickered across his face. Smart girl. He pulled out a phone, sent a text. Seconds later, Maya's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. A bank notification. Deposit $50,000. Her vision blurred. That's a signing bonus. Tuition, rent, expenses for the next 2 years. You'll finish school, graduate top of your class. And when I call, you'll come, immediately. No hesitation, no questions. Complete loyalty. What if you ask me to do something illegal? I will. He said it without hesitation. But you won't go to prison for it. I protect my people. As long as you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. Break that loyalty and... He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Maya nodded slowly. When do you need me? When you're ready. Could be months. Could be years. You'll get a message. And when you do, you come immediately. Understand? I understand. Moretti extended his hand. Then we have a deal. Maya shook it. His grip was firm. Final. Like signing a contract in blood. One more thing, Moretti said as she moved to leave. The person you were before tonight, the one who returned that wallet, don't lose her. That's the person I need. Not someone who became like me, someone who stayed like you despite everything. You understand the difference? Maya wasn't sure she did, but she nodded anyway. She climbed out of the SUV and watched it drive away. Stood on the sidewalk as her phone buzzed with texts. Tuition payment confirmed, rent cleared, accounts updated. She was saved, she was owned, and she had no idea which was worse. 8 months later. Maya graduated top of her class. Perfect grades, clinical rotations at the best hospital in the city, recommendation letters from professors who called her exceptional, gifted, the best student they'd taught in years. She accepted a residency position at Metropolitan General, emergency medicine, trauma surgery, the kind of work that made her feel alive. She'd almost forgotten about Moretti. Almost convinced herself the deal had been a fever dream, that maybe he'd forgotten about her too. Then, on a Friday night in November, her phone rang at 2:47 a.m. Unknown number. Maya answered, already knowing, already feeling her stomach drop. "It's time." Moretti's voice. No greeting, no preamble. "Address incoming. Black SUV outside your apartment in 15 minutes. Bring your medical bag. And Maya? What you see tonight stays with you forever. No exceptions." The line went dead. Maya sat up in bed, heart hammering. This was it. The bill coming due, the devil collecting his payment. She dressed in the dark, grabbed her emergency medical kit, hands steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. The SUV was waiting exactly where he said it would be. Maya climbed in. The door locked behind her. 2 men sat in front. Neither spoke. Neither looked at her. The driver pulled away from the curb and headed downtown, away from the nice neighborhoods, toward the industrial district where streetlights grew sparse and questions weren't asked. They drove for 20 minutes, pulled up to a warehouse with no signs, no windows, just steel doors and armed guards who nodded them through. Inside, the warehouse had been converted into something else. Medical equipment, surgical lights, monitors, a full operating theater hidden in plain sight. And in the center of it all, on a steel table surrounded by blood, lay a man who was dying. Moretti stood beside the table, still in his suit, splattered with blood that wasn't his. He looked up when Maya entered. "Meet your first patient," he said calmly. "He has 3 bullets in his chest and internal bleeding. You have maybe an hour before he's gone. Save him, and you prove your worth. Fail." Moretti's eyes went cold. "Don't fail." Maya stared at the dying man, at the blood, at the surgical equipment, at Moretti watching her with those smoke-colored eyes that held no mercy. This was the life she'd chosen, the price of survival. Her hands didn't shake as she set down her bag. "I'll need 2 assistants, and someone get me his blood type. Now." Maya's hands moved with precision she didn't know she possessed. Cut, clamp, suture. The dying man's blood painted her gloves red, but her fingers stayed steady. She was inside the body now, inside the damage. 3 bullets. 2 had passed through clean. The 3rd had lodged near his heart, nicking an artery. That's where the blood was coming from. An endless crimson flood that wouldn't stop until she stopped it. "Suction," Maya ordered. One of Moretti's men, pressed into service as her assistant, fumbled with the equipment. Not medical personnel. Probably not even high school educated. But following her instructions like his life depended on it. Maybe it did. Moretti watched from the corner. Silent. Still. His eyes tracked every movement of her hands. Judging. Calculating. Deciding if his investment had been worth it. Maya blocked him out. Blocked out everything except the anatomy before her. This wasn't a criminal on her table. This was a human being. A body fighting to stay alive. And she was the only thing standing between this man and death. She'd taken an oath. Do no harm. Save lives. Didn't matter whose life. Didn't matter how it got damaged. Her job was to fix what was broken. Maya isolated the bleeder, clamped it. The fountain of blood slowed to a trickle. She could breathe again. "Got it," she whispered. Behind her, someone exhaled. She hadn't realized they'd all been holding their breath. The rest of the surgery took 2 hours. Repairing tissue, closing vessels, removing the bullet fragments, making sure nothing was left inside that would kill him later. When she finally stepped back, the man's vitals had stabilized. Still critical. Still on the edge. But alive. Maya stripped off her gloves. Her hands were shaking now that it was over. Now that the adrenaline was draining away and reality was crashing back in. She'd just performed illegal surgery on a criminal in a warehouse. She'd saved a man who'd probably killed people, who would probably kill again. And she'd done it perfectly. "He'll need monitoring for the next 48 hours, Maya said, not looking at Moretti. "Antibiotics, fluids, someone who knows how to read the monitors. If his vitals crash, you'll come back. Moretti's voice cut through her instructions. If anything goes wrong, you'll come back and fix it. It wasn't a question. Maya finally turned to face him. He looked different now, not cold, not calculating. Something else, something that might have been respect. You did well, Moretti said. He moved closer into the surgical lights. Better than well. You saved his life. Marco was my advisor for 15 years, my right hand. If he'd died... He stopped, shook his head. You passed the real test, Maya Chen. The wallet was the first test, Maya said slowly, understanding clicking into place. This was the second. The wallet showed me your character. Tonight showed me your skill. Moretti gestured to the man on the table. Most people would have panicked, frozen, claimed they weren't ready. You didn't hesitate. You just did what needed to be done. Maya looked at her blood-stained scrubs, at the medical equipment she'd just used to save a mobster's life, at the path she'd chosen 8 months ago when desperation had outweighed morality. What happens now? She asked. Now you go home. Go back to your residency. Your normal life. Moretti pulled out his phone, transferred money with a few taps. That's $50,000. Payment for tonight. You'll be compensated like this every time I call. Fair? Fair. As if anything about this was fair. But Maya nodded. Because $50,000 for one night's work was more than fair. It was obscene. It was life-changing. It was blood money. And if I want out? Maya asked, testing, pushing. If I decide this isn't worth it? Moretti's expression didn't change. Then you pay back every dollar I invested in you, with interest, calculated from the night you accepted my offer. He paused. Current total would be approximately $300,000. Plus the $50,000 I just sent you. You have that kind of money laying around? Maya's stomach dropped. She didn't. Wouldn't. Not for years. Maybe decades. She was trapped. Had been from the moment she'd shaken his hand 8 months ago. I didn't think so, Moretti said softly. But here's the thing, Maya. I don't want you to feel trapped. I want you to understand something. He stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell expensive cologne mixed with gunpowder and blood. You're not my prisoner. You're my investment. And I protect my investments. That $50,000, you've earned it. Keep earning it, and you'll have more money than you ever dreamed of. Financial security, protection, a career that matters. A career saving criminals, Maya said. A career saving lives. Moretti corrected. What those lives did before or after you touch them, that's not your responsibility. You're a doctor. You heal. That's all you need to focus on. It was a pretty lie. Maya almost wanted to believe it, but she'd seen too much tonight. The guns, the guards, the casual way Moretti had ordered his men around, the blood on his suit that he hadn't bothered to wipe off. This wasn't a gray area. This was darkness pretending to have shadows. Still, the money was real. The security was real. And God help her, the satisfaction she'd felt saving that man's life, Marco's life, that had been real too. Maybe she could live with this. Maybe she could be the person who stayed good despite the circumstances, the way Moretti had asked her to. Or maybe she was just lying to herself, making excuses, justifying the unjustifiable all over again. I need to clean up, Maya said, avoiding the question she couldn't answer. And I need to check his vitals one more time before I leave. Moretti nodded, stepped back. There's a shower in the back, clean clothes waiting. Take your time. 20 minutes later, Maya stood in an industrial shower washing blood down the drain and wondering if this was what purgatory felt like. Caught between salvation and damnation. Unable to climb to one or sink to the other, just suspended, waiting. When she returned to the surgical area, Marco was awake. Barely. His eyes were unfocused, but breathing was steady. Maya checked his monitors, his vitals. Everything looked stable. "You're going to be okay," she told him softly. "Just rest." Marco's eyes found hers. He tried to speak, couldn't. But his hand moved weakly, reaching for something. Maya took his hand without thinking, squeezed gently. "Don't try to talk. Save your strength." He squeezed back, weak but deliberate. "Thank you," the gesture said. And despite everything, the criminality, the violence, the moral compromise, Maya felt something warm in her chest. She'd saved a life tonight. That still mattered. Had to matter. Otherwise, what was any of this for? Moretti appeared at her elbow. "The car's ready. I'll have someone call you with updates on his condition." Maya followed him out of the warehouse into the cold November air. The SUV waited, engine running, heat blasting. Before she climbed in, Moretti caught her arm, gentle but firm. "Maya, look at me." She did. His smoke-colored eyes were softer than she'd ever seen them, almost human. "You did good tonight, really good, and I know this isn't what you imagined when you went to nursing school. I know you're scared, conflicted, probably hating yourself a little bit right now." He paused. "But you saved a good man's life. Marco has a wife, 3 kids. They would have lost him if not for you. Remember that when the guilt gets too heavy." Maya's throat tightened. "He's a criminal. He's a father, a husband, a man who's loyal to the people he loves." Moretti released her arm. "Nobody's just one thing, Maya. Not him, not me, and not you. You can be the woman who returned my wallet and the woman who saved Marco's life. Both things can be true." "Can they?" Maya whispered. "We're about to find out." The drive home was silent. Maya stared out the window at the city sliding past. Same streets as always, same buildings. But everything looked different now. She'd crossed a line tonight, stepped fully into Moretti's world, and there was no going back. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Thinking about you, baby. Hope work is going well. So proud of everything you've accomplished. Love you." Maya's vision blurred. She typed back, "Love you too, Mom." Then she deleted the conversation, cleared her call history, erased any evidence of contact. Because if her mother ever found out what Maya had become, what she'd done, it would break her. Better to let her believe the lie. The daughter who'd made it. Who'd succeeded the right way. Who'd never compromised. That daughter was gone now, dead on the table next to Marco. This new Maya, the one riding in a mobster's SUV with blood money in her account, she was someone else. Someone her mother wouldn't recognize. The SUV pulled up to Maya's apartment. Not the old one. The new one Moretti had arranged 8 months ago. Nice building, safe neighborhood. Doorman who nodded politely and never asked questions. Maya climbed out, started toward the entrance. "Maya," she turned back. Moretti leaned out the window. "Welcome to the family," he said. Not smiling, not threatening, just stating a fact. "You're one of us now. That means something. Protection, loyalty, and consequences if you break that loyalty. Understand?" Maya understood perfectly. She nodded and walked inside, took the elevator to her floor, let herself into her apartment, the one paid for with blood money from a deal with the devil. Her medical bag sat by the door, still stained with Marco's blood. Maya stripped off her clothes, threw them in the trash, showered again, scrubbing her skin until it was raw, as if she could wash away what she'd become. But when she looked in the mirror afterward, the same person stared back. Same face, same eyes. Same Maya Chen who'd returned a wallet 8 months ago because it was the right thing to do. Except now she saved criminals for money. Now she was owned by a man whose eyes held no mercy. Now she was trapped in a life that paid well, but cost everything. And the worst part, the part that made her want to scream, was that she'd do it again. If Moretti called tomorrow, she'd go. If Marco crashed, she'd operate. If another bullet-riddled body showed up on that steel table, she'd save it. Because she was a doctor. Saving lives was what she did. Even when those lives were dark, even when the circumstances were darker, she'd become exactly what Moretti had asked for. The woman who stayed good despite everything. Who kept her integrity even as the world around her rotted. Or maybe she'd just become very good at lying to herself. Maya's phone buzzed one last time that night. Moretti. Marco's stable. You saved him. His family will never know your name, but they have their husband and father because of you. That matters. Remember that when the darkness gets heavy, you brought light into it. That's not nothing. Maya stared at the message for a long time. Then she looked around her apartment. At the furniture she could now afford. At the medical textbooks she'd purchased without checking price tags. At the life she'd built on a foundation of moral compromise. She'd escaped poverty, graduated top of her class, become the doctor she'd always dreamed of being. And all it had cost was her soul. Or maybe not her soul. Maybe just her innocence. Maybe just the version of herself who believed that doing the right thing was always possible. This new Maya, the one who existed in the space between saint and sinner, she understood something the old Maya hadn't. Sometimes there were no good choices, only survivable ones, and she'd survived. The question was, at what price? Maya fell asleep with that question unanswered. Dreaming of smoke-colored eyes and blood-stained tables and a wallet full of $100 bills that had changed everything. She woke the next morning to sunlight and silence, and the certain knowledge that when Dominic Moretti called again, and he would call again, she would answer. Because she'd made her choice. Shaken his hand, saved his friend's life. She was his now, his doctor, his investment, his instrument. And somewhere in the darkness, she'd have to find a way to keep being herself, or die trying. Tell us what you thought of Maya's story. Did she make the right choice? What would you have done in her position? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our next dark romance story. And if you want more content like this, share this video with someone who loves intense, emotional storytelling. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay hooked.